Hello, everybody. Have you read any new comic books lately? I know I have. I'm going to be talking about the latest and greatest in the world of comic books that came out this past week. I'm your host, Sal.
And I'm Tiffany.
Yeah, that's right. I'm mixing it up.
That really threw me.
Welcome to a new live episode of Off the Rack, unless you're catching the show after the fact, in which case, if you're catching the show on audio, like Spotify, give us a good rating. I can't read them because I don't listen to podcasts very often, which is ironic and kind of, a little self-effacing. But you know what? Listen. I don't have a lot of time in my day.
Sure.
But I discovered, I was like, I saw that we had some ratings on Spotify, and I was like, well, let me look at them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, nope, you got to log into your account on mobile. And I'm like, fine. So then I did. And then it's like, you haven't listened to this show enough for you to be able to see or rate this podcast. And I'm like, what the hell? I made this podcast. I can't look at the ratings. They're like, no,
man.
But also you're not going to get any money for it either. So why would I bother? Fair enough. But anyway, if you are listening to the show, give us a nice rating. I would appreciate it. And it would help us out.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, if you're liking the show, give us a like and subscribe to the channel to get more here on ComicPop Returns. I know that lately we haven't had a lot of videos come out. I promise you that I'm working on it. I got like a huge list of videos that we are going to be working on. I've got a plan.
2024 going to be like the
2020 of
like new year?
Yeah, I think so.
New you?
No, it's gonna be the same me. The fact is, I've been me since I was like 6 years old, and there's no turning back now. I mean, the only thing that I can promise you,
believe that.
right? It's just I'm like, no, this sand is dry and uncomfortable, and then I go in the water and the ocean is cold and unforgiving. I'd rather just be in my house playing a Sega Genesis.
Mother, I wish to go home.
I wish to retire to my domicile. No, actually, I did.
Spider-Man comics.
Yes, to be true, I actually did love the beach, and I bought my own comic books. Thank you very much, because my parents did not like
bring them for you.
Yeah, she could, but she wouldn't know which ones to get anyway.
No, that's true.
Her knowledge of my interests stopped around the Ninja Turtles and the Ghostbusters. She's like, there's 4 turtles, there's 4 busters. I learned most of their names. I'm good.
I assume your grandma did more for your comic book collection than your mom did. Like your grandma went to more comic book.
My grandma, my 97 at her death year-old grandmother, went to more Comic-Cons than my mother did. Yes, that's correct. Because one time I asked her to go to one because she offered. She said, there's a comic book show in the church basement, boy. Do you want me to go and grab you some books? And I'm like, here's some Spawns. She's like, Spawn. I'm like, you'd like it. It's about God. Anyway. It's not what's important here. I also want to add a segment because we're going to be talking about news and reviews here on Off the Rack, but I also want to add one more segment to the show that I'm surprised we've never had, and we're going to see if it works. Also, we did the recommendations early, and no one was upset. There was no fanfare. There was no outcry. One person said, hey, they never did the recommendations, and I'm like, you missed them. And he saw them and he's like, oh man, I didn't even notice. But yeah, so I think we might move the recommendations, but for now, let's just stick to what we know. But the other segment I want to add, best book of the week. What's the best book of the week? We just determine which one is the best.
Like right now?
No. When we're all done, we go like, which is the best of the week?
Okay. Yeah.
And if anybody qualifies, maybe the worst. But we'll let's just stick with positivity for now. And of course, if you want to help us more directly, you can do so by sponsoring today's show by using Super Chats, ask a question or comment. We'll read it here on the show, and you'll be part of the show forever. And that's there's no backses on that one. So I read a bunch of books. I know you did as well.
I read a few books.
Yeah, I read
the most important one for sure.
It's true.
Which I didn't realize it was going to be the most important one.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Well, I read Green Hour #6 from Joshua Williamson, Trevor Hairsine, Sean Isaacs, and Phil Hester. Okay. Kind of like wraps up the first arc of this current run.
Yeah, this cover seems like really unassuming. But it's like one of those, the longer you look at it, the more you see things.
Yeah.
I actually really like, I wasn't really paying attention to...
It's a Phil Hester original, baby.
Well, I wasn't paying attention to the red spiraling arrows. I was just like, oh yeah, it's a red spiral, whatever. And then I was like, oh, it's arrows.
Oh, they're arrows, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. He's being downvoted. They don't like him. But no, so Ollie is on a merry chase through time to try and figure out like why the Arrow family can't be together. He has been manipulated by an old version of himself, Old Man Ollie, to try and understand the lesson, which is, of course, like the Arrow family can't be together because of you, man. It's your fault, and they'll
Everyone
all
loves
die
hearing that.
because of you, and we got to keep them apart because if they ever get together, the whole everything will fall apart. And turns out it's all nonsense, and it was all made up by a classic Green Arrow villain who made a deal with Amanda Waller because that's like the theme of the DC. The dawn of DC is that Amanda Waller be doing stuff, and she's
like, I'm the force of the universe.
It's
baby.
true, and it's funny because I remember that being a plot point in this, and then I read like 2 other DC books, and in all of them, Amanda Waller shows up, and she's like, "Don't forget that Joshua Williamson set me up at the end of Dark Crisis, and by gum, I'm gonna be in this until they switch everything up again."
I kind of appreciate that in a world of like gods, new gods, and modern day mythology, that Amanda Waller is like a force to be reckoned.
She is.
Like, hey, I'm just a human.
Right. Just an angry, bitter, miserable human.
Just here I am. Who machinations.
Don't be on my bad side. Just kidding, all of you are.
Literally, yeah.
But yeah, so
I'm really glad we don't because we don't do like sometimes we talk about like if Marvel and DC crossed over.
Yes.
Right now my brain's like Sinister
and Waller
versus Waller.
I mean, it's funny because most folk would be like, "Oh, Nick Fury and Amanda Waller," right? But it's like, no, Sinister and Waller.
Mr. Sinister, like this, like Krakoa era Mr. Sinister with like all his stuff going on. And,
no, just Waller ending up in his like little weird lagoon castle thing and being like, "All right, I have a couple of ideas."
Yeah,
like she gives him DNA of like Superman and stuff like that.
Yeah, and he makes fun of what she's wearing.
Naturally. So he's like, we're going to have to do something about all this.
But it can't be more than what I'm doing.
But that'd be so great to see like Waller in a freaking cape and stuff.
No, she's not putting the cape on.
I think she might dig it.
I don't know.
She's like, look, I'm in another universe. No one's going to know. Who's going to tell on me?
Anyway, so
it's good. It's fun. You actually, the different art really does complement the story. Normally when you have like 3 different artists on one book, especially like a regularly scheduled book with a normal amount of pages, it smells. It's kind of like, hey, you really couldn't get this damn thing out. But each one thematically works for each segment of the book. Phil Hester represents like the past, and so he's representing this like timeline of Ollie during a very particular period, like when Phil Hester was drawing Green Arrow. So it's like, that's cool.
Right,
Sean Isaacs was drawing like a more modern version. It really works. Trevor Hairsine is more like because we know him mostly from like Deceased. He's kind of like doing the dark stuff. So like there's a really dark segment. It's kind of more like a PS at the end of the book, and Hairsine takes care of that duty. And it's like, that's really cool that like that is done in such a way that even if it is meant to just kind of save us some time and get the book out. It also works thematically, so it's not really that egregious. I certainly don't begrudge it.
Okay.
But yeah, if you haven't already read, if you love Green Arrow, you're reading this book, and if you aren't reading this book and you still love Green Arrow, I can say as a like quasi Green Arrow fan that this is definitely worth reading, and it's definitely worth it for the Arrow family alone, especially because it's like as I've said multiple times, it's metatextually about the Arrow family and why they can and cannot be together, and like we've never really seen them all in one place, and it's like it's really cool. So check it out.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. What about you?
I read Moon Knight this week. Moon Knight 29, written by Jed McKay with art by Federico Sabatini.
Yay!
The big question of who's the new Black Spectre, and he's teamed up with Zodiac and a few other like minions and such in order to create a device that will broadcast a kill sound, which will drive anyone who hears it insane. So like most of New York.
Right.
So not, Moon Knight there's some stakes here for Moon Knight.
Stakes have never been higher. Except for that time you took over the Avengers and like.
Well, no, it's more like, Moon Knight's like, yeah, this is important, but also like, who are you, Black Spectre? I want to punch you in the face. So he's got like, it's like, we have to stop this, but also I really need to know who you are and to punch you in the face.
Yeah, of course.
So Tigra had stepped on a mine, a mine in the floor last time, so she was stuck on it. She knew she was on it, so she can't go along. We're peeling away his allies. Hunter's Moon goes off to track down another one of the minions, Sarnak or Sanrak. Sarnak. I was right. I was
Yeah,
like,
you were right the first
an R
time.
and an N far away from me. I'm like, wait, no, I'm right.
It's
have faith in
Sarnak.
myself.
Yeah, that's right.
But
It's all
no.
made up anyway.
But so he's gone. Tiger's not with him now, right? 8-Ball had been there for a second, but so he's on his own to face Spectre or Black Spectre, in which he does, and they reveal who it is, and he's like, but wait, that's the second Black Spectre. What's going on? It's not really. He like sprung him. He's like, no, like I really wanted to kill you, but like I needed more time, so I like sent him out there and let him be the Black Spectre, but it's me, haha.
Okay.
And so we do get that reveal as to who the Black Spectre is, and it was like but also like kind of
like,
okay. That really, like, at the end of the day, like that wasn't what this was about for me. It really is just watching this crew work together. Like I'm hesitant to call them like a Moon Knight family because everybody's got like a family. It's the Spider family, the Bat family, and the Green Arrow family. And I'm like, it's just this crew. Like it's just a group of people who are brought together by circumstance and other connections, like Tiger, obviously. Well, she was kind of brought together as like a circumstance as well, but she had known him. Yeah.
No, they have history. West Coast history.
But she was also brought there to watch him post everything that happened in Avengers. So that is a bit of circumstance for sure.
True.
And to see, trust build through like with them and betrayals and all of that, right? Like, so I've really just enjoyed getting to know some of these characters, getting to know some of them for the first time, even if they have existed, and some of them who are brand new. This isn't over yet, obviously. But the threat, of course, of the, cover of this book was that this, like, it's the last days of Moon Knight.
Yeah, Moon Knight's gonna die.
Right. He gets shot up pretty bad in this.
Oh no!
Like real bad.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see what happens. Don't forget, supposedly the Moon Knights can't come back.
Right.
Like Hunter's Moon took the last one that was available, essentially, and it's like,
Right. Especially because there's already 3 of them in there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but it's like I'm sure they'll come up with some way.
Yeah.
Or not. I don't know. Jed McKay might be like, no, it's okay.
No, we're just killing them off.
We have Hunter's Moon.
We have other Moon Knights
for now, and we'll let
and then let that be somebody else's problem.
Yeah. I don't know. So I'm like, I honestly, part of me is just like, obviously it'd be fine. And I'm like, it's not obvious.
It really
is not obvious that it would be fine. We'll see. I'm interested to see how they're going to work through this. But like I said, I've just been, digging on this series.
Yeah.
And, McKay bringing Moon Knight to light.
Good. Good for Moon Knight. Yes, the Moon Knight light.
I will say, I do like Sabatini's art, but sometimes I miss Capuccio.
Yeah.
Like he has like really good action stuff. Like there was a fluidity to Capuccio's art versus Sabatini's art, and I kind of missed it here a little bit, but it's still good. It's still good. The two of them have gone back and forth enough throughout this series that it's not like
No, it's not terribly jarring. Good. Well, I read Batman 89 Echoes from Sam Han and Joe Quinones. This is, of course, the like.
I'm sorry, literally, I can't.
I know Sam Han. Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
It's not his fault.
But this is continuing the Batman 89 universe, where instead of the Batman Forever Joel Schumacher movies happening, instead, what if Tim Burton had kept the screenwriter from the first Batman movie and that alone, and he got to keep making more Batman sequels? Okay, well, it all kind of falls apart, but like, hey, here's another one. And man, all I could think about was how hyped everybody was for the first Batman 89 series, from the like artwork and the character designs and like just those initial concepts from Quinones, and just showing off like how cool that could be and the return of this universe, especially when something like Superman 78 has done such a good job to differentiate and separate and still manage to be good comic books. Whereas the previous Batman 89 eventually just fell under the weight of its own, failings. This continues to do the same. This is essentially just more. Like it's apt that they're calling it Batman 89 again, or Batman 89 Echoes, because it is an echo of the last series. All the problems I had with the last series are just at the fore, not just with like the stiffness of the art or the awkwardness of the panel layouts or the just the discomfort of trying to morph characters into the actors that they're supposed to be played by back in the 90s when this movie might have come out in another reality.
Okay.
But also the writing is just so stiff and it's just not fun.
Okay.
Like this is an idea that I want to see executed, but not like this. It's so disappointing. It's more like I'd rather just watch this fake movie, but maybe not this one, because it's doing the thing, and it's what you do when you have like an older screenwriter who's just like, I'm doing a superhero movie. I'm from the 80s and 90s. What is it going to be? Batman goes away again. Like Batman goes away. in every Batman sequel. Like every Batman sequel movie they make, Batman's gone for years. And it's like, dude, you can't have it both ways. You can have a story about Batman being like, I would die without this city, that this city needs me. And then he just leaves. He always leaves. Like every DC hero in the movies just leaves if any screenwriter has an opportunity to do a sequel.
If you love something, let it go.
Right. Except he also like usually leaves because he wants to make it better. It's just awful.
Well, he's
Whatever.
like, I love it so much. And then I realized, oh, wait, it's me. Hi, I'm the problem.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like that's another problem I have with superhero movies in general is they're like at some point or another, usually within like the second act of the first movie or the entire plot of the second movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time they're making the third movie, they got to have a kid or die because that's the only options I have as a screenwriter in Hollywood. But like the idea of like the hero doesn't want to be or can't be the hero. And I'm like, I'm here to watch the hero be the hero.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm here for. But yeah, so the fun of it is Jeff Goldblum plays Scarecrow and Madonna plays Harley Quinn. That's the fun. Like and Winona Ryder, of course, being Barbara Gordon, and Commissioner Gordon's dead from the previous series, and so she's commissioner or whatever, and it's just kind of like, and Batman's gone. He's been gone for a month. What's going on? And now suddenly he's impersonating Firefly, and you're like, what is this? Like, what is this? It's just, and you know what it is? It's just boring. And it's a little bland, and it falls into the trappings of all of those all of the worst kinds of superhero movie tropes.
Okay.
It's just like, and of course it is, because there's no oversight. It's just like, do it again, make magic.
Right.
Do I want to see Madonna in 1995 as Harley Quinn? Hell yeah. Do I want to see like Independence Day era Jeff Goldblum as Scarecrow? You betcha. But this is a comic book.
I really find that like.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, no. Madonna is not Selena Kyle.
No, you didn't say that.
No. What's her name? Is Selena Kyle? Michelle Pfeiffer is Selena Kyle. Anyway.
No, I can't help but imagine, because I know Goldblum from Independence Day isn't quite Jurassic Park.
No, he isn't. No,
Goldblum, but like I can't help but imagine that version of him playing the Scarecrow, and I'm like, okay, yeah, just loving it.
Right,
just loving it.
So yeah, no, he is, and he's a little bit more Jeff Goldblum-y, but remember, it's like younger Jeff Goldblum, so I imagine like they got to like dial it back. It's more like he's more Earth Girls Are Easy than the Jeff Goldblum experience. But anyway, yeah, it's not a recommend for me. It's just kind of like, oh, that happened. What about you?
I read Luke Cage this week.
Hey, I skipped all of these because I'm like, no.
And I knew you were. I do have like, I have like interest in Luke.
Yeah, Luke's a great character.
And here's why I have interest in Luke, right? And it's one of those things where it's like, I've never really gone to read his stuff, but like if he has something new, like I can't help but want to check it out, because one of the first like non-Doctor Strangean comics I ever read, and that wasn't like Preacher or Dark Knight or like, like 1602, like it wasn't any of that, or an indie book or something like that.
Yeah,
was New Avengers.
Right, one of your first monthly comics was
New Avengers, right? And like the thing that stuck with me forever was Luke Cage getting knocked off the building, and then going back up in the elevator. Like that literally has stuck with me forever.
I know.
Just that level of humor in that character, just how human he was.
Yes.
For being nigh indestructible, just how, like Spider-Man, he is on the streets, he is human, he is doing his thing, right? But he does these like his grand adventures, and like he goes to space and he does all these things, right? And then here's this guy.
Yes.
Right? Like, so I couldn't help myself. I had to check it out, especially when I saw Rodney Barnes was writing it. Rodney Barnes, I knew from my brief time reading Philadelphia. And then I missed a few issues. And then Philadelphia just kept going. And it's to that point where I'm like, I have to go back, but there's so much of it.
Right.
And I'm like, So I was like, I got to check this out. Rodney Barnes has done many other things, but I was like, that's where I know him from. I know him from Philadelphia, and I liked his storytelling from there.
Cool.
Ramon F. Box on art duty for this. And I figured, I knew that Luke was mayor.
Yes.
And I was like, I think that's enough to get me by.
That's
for this,
really
right?
all
like
you need,
I feel like it's enough to get me by.
Right.
And I knew this was going to be tied into gang war, but this issue really did enough for me for right now, at least with issue 1, to act like this is happening in a void.
Right.
Which I don't know how it's going to work in the other books.
Right.
But there is something great about this being a Luke Cage thing, because it's like Luke Cage is mayor, but there's the vigilante like act, so you can't be a hero,
Yeah.
right? Which means that supervillains have kind of taken over New York,
Mhm.
right? And he's the mayor who is also a superhero, and he's
Yeah.
like, I can't do anything to defend my city. All I can do is throw money into like the police to hopefully be able to. And I'm like, I like this.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And like, you know, he's talking to Danny about it, and Danny's like, doesn't have the fist anymore. He's like, but I'm still a black belt. Maybe we could still like do something, right? And it's like, you know, Luke walking this line of being like, I'm the mayor. I have to set a good example, but I need to save my city.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah,
that's it's compelling.
I love this, and I assume at some point this is going to get, because it's like I think 4 issues.
Yeah.
It's obviously going to go more into what's going on within gang war across the titles, I'm sure.
Well, the fact
But if it doesn't, I'll be very thrilled to just read this series in a vacuum.
Yeah.
and just enjoy it.
I think that's easy to do, and I think that like it'll probably culminate in the 3rd act of whatever the main story is doing, but like you'll be able to read it without
Luke does get a
Spider-Man
suit in this, and it's a suit that hides his identity.
Okay.
Because they're like,
he's never had that.
He's never had that, and he's like, but I have to have it now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
it's a fun idea. It's a great exploration of that.
Right? I was like, he's the perfect character to be involved with this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think this is probably going to be my entire
gang war.
Yeah. Like entry is just reading this Luke Cage book, because again, like I was like, oh, this is 4 issues. I can do that. I can jump into this. And I know, like I said, I'm familiar with Rodney Barnes' work.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, I felt pretty good about it.
Yeah.
So.
Good.
And I checked it out on, like I did like, so if you're a Comixology reader right now, this afternoon, it's over, right? It's over. Everything migrated over. I did check it out in Kindle because I had to download my books in order to actually have them here, because I can't look at them in Comixology anymore.
Yeah.
The download process is really easy. There's still guided view in it, and you can buy things in the app again.
Okay.
I guess that's why they never bothered to worry about that whole thing in Comixology. It is still, however, that like 1-click thing. So if you have like a gift card, I think it'll
only use that.
But that's fine. I'll still go around my other way. But if you still want to buy things within the app, the Kindle thing will let you do it. So
okay, cool.
You know, I've only barely gone through it with it, because obviously I just downloaded them for the show. So next week will be the first time I'm reading really on this, but it should be, hopefully we'll see how it is. I'll give you my thoughts next week.
Fair enough. I read Captain America 3 from J. Michael Straczynski, creator of Babylon 5, and of course art by Jesus Saiz. This is a it's a curious series, because like I think that Straczynski's wanted to talk about / write for Captain America forever, and I suspect, based on like a whole sequence where Captain America like gives a big speech, and when I say Cap, I mean like young Steve Rogers, that Straczynski's been chasing that moment from his Amazing Spider-Man run where Cap gives a big speech, and then they used it in Civil War, and everybody loves like those words and that speech, and they're like, that's like a quintessential Captain America speech, and it was written by him in a Spider-Man comic to talk about Civil War, and like it's not really like, it is a Captain America speech, but like the main Captain America book didn't even touch that.
Right.
And so he's like, well, if people like that, then how about a whole book where Captain America gives speeches by me? You're gonna if you liked my Captain America in someone else's book, you're gonna love my Captain America book. And I like it. It's fine. I've enjoyed it. It's very much, it's a treatise on today, while not being overt in its like messaging. It is overt in its messaging, but it's like it's set in both the present and the past, and Captain America is dealing with like this psycho who is dealing with demons, or rather one demon, and then but we keep like flashing back to like when he was younger, pre-super soldier serum, dealing with like the Nazis invading American society, and like being given a forum and being allowed to speak during World War II, and how it's like this is a problem, and it's like, it's echoes of like things that are present in an American society today, and like what we need to do about this, and how we need to combat it, and who you might find as an ally against something as like abhorrent as fascism. And so in this, like, young Steve Rogers is coerced by like the mob, like the Italian mob led by a Jewish like underling is interested in like quashing the Nazis, and it's this cute, interesting, fun exploration. There is a moment that I saw some people talking about online that I really enjoyed, which was there's like this weird sequence where like Misty Knight, who's like in charge of extranormal affairs, like she calls Captain America in, and so there's this room where a person was clearly like killed in a ritualistic magic situation,
Sure.
and then she takes out a Doctor Strange action figure and she puts him on the table, and then she says something like she says a magical incantation, and Doctor Strange appears, like he astral projects into the action figure. And the idea is that Strange has given like a number of people special totemic action figures, and if they speak the words, he can astral project into there. He's like, it can do more than I can as an astral form. Like it can affect the environment and stuff like that.
Kind of love that.
Right? And Cap, of course, has no respect for it and calls it a doll, which of course, you know, I'm sure Cap needs to save face, but you know, it's an action figure. So like little action figure Doctor Strange with like a cute little, like, you know, like the Rick and Morty mouth thing. He's like flying around, like looking at things, and you know, because the whole like the walls are covered in these like crazy incantations and stuff, and it leads to Captain America because clearly he's like the next target because there's a big shield of Captain America's like drawn into the incantations. So those are a couple of standout moments, but it's like,
wish I could do that with my Doctor Strange action.
I know, right? But it's a good series. I enjoy it quite well. I just like it's not knocking my socks off, but it is a competent book that is written by a person that we want to see return to mainstream Big Two comics, and he has something to say, and he's not doing it in like an overt or like you know, non-seamless way. Like he is integrating into the narrative, and like so, you know, if people are insane and predisposed to like, you know, the that kind of thing, Nazism, fascism, whatnot, and you know, this might be quiet enough for it to like just penetrate their brain and then just sit there and rattle around, as opposed to like trying to be big and showy and then just like lose them before they, you know, have a chance to even allow words to infect their minds and become better people. But yeah, so it's a good book. But again, it's not like I'm like, this is a book you need to be reading. So, like, there are whole swaths of moments where like he's talking about like you're over explaining, you know, and it's not like in a Mackie way or in like a Chichester way where it's like, oh my god, this is just, you're just filling pages.
Right.
Like, it's more just like, yeah, I know, I get it. Like, yeah. Like, I'm like, oh, this book isn't really talking to me. Like, I'm already on the like Nazis are bad.
Right. I know what you're saying. You don't have to keep telling.
Exactly. Like, I'm picking up what you're putting down. So yeah. But yeah. So but I recommend it, especially if you have like a friend who's like out there. Like giving this.
Okay.
But anyway, what do you got?
Do you want to do any super chats?
Yeah, I guess we should do that. There's quite a few. Drew.
Very kind of everyone.
Yeah, Drew Markham. Thank you very much for your generosity. Says, can't watch live, but thank you guys for the education on my favorite characters since I was a kid. Can't wait to show my newborn daughter future videos so she can learn about her favorite characters.
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
Congrats to you, Drew. And we look forward to growing up with her and continuing the journey.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Drew. Arduit says, ComicPop woo. I know things are getting put away for this X-Men run, but they can't go back to Westchester, right? Do you think the new status quo is Mars?
I don't know.
I think they can definitely go back to Westchester.
They can.
I don't think that they like necessarily should.
Right.
But look, I'm a big fan of the Westchester era. I like the mansion. I'm very happy to go there. I also really like and respect this Krakoa era. But like, where else are they going to go? I hated when they put the mansion in Central Park. That was like the worst.
Maybe Krakoa blasted to space and become Asteroid M.
There we go. It'll be Asteroid K. Yeah. My problem, my real concern for X-Men right now, was seeing a bunch of names being bandied about who's going to take over.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, why don't you just keep them? Like I can't imagine the shift. I won't say drop in quality. Subjectively speaking, it would be a sharp drop in quality. But I can't imagine the disparity between having like your architects for X-Men be people like Kieran Gillen and Cy Spurrier and Al Ewing, and then like have them just leave.
Right.
Especially if they were like willing to stick around. I will say, Kieran Gillen is leaving and he's not coming back. I believe that Kieran Gillen is going indie route. Like he's leaving for good. He's doing one more thing and then that's it for him.
I didn't hear that. Where'd you hear that?
I saw like I think him say it. It was a tweet or something.
That could be. I mean, he just had a very successful Kickstarter for Die in terms of their game.
Yeah.
So that's kind of unsurprising to me for sure.
Boo.
Like,
Mhm.
yeah. Which is a shame. But,
I know.
I get it. I get it.
Pop Culture Guy 3000. I'm so happy this dumb Chuck Austin plot has been retconned. Now, if only somebody can retcon away Remus or whoever that dumb wolf mutant Wolvie lookalikes was called, we'll be golden. Yeah, I'm always a big proponent of leaving behind anything called Remus or Remans or anything related to the opposite of Romulus.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, man. Well, anything Chuck Austin is usually a good idea to just leave behind. Thank you for your support, man, and thanks for sticking around. Andrew Forrester, just sending out some love to my favorite creators. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you very much.
Chances we get Spider-Man Reign 2 on back issues, still at work, but I will catch you guys in the replay. Well, welcome back to the show, man. After you've already left, you're here on the replay.
Yeah, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your support. It's like Spider-Man Reign was made to be a back issues episode.
Right.
Altus Bane as Azazel was the bomb in X-Men First Class, yo. Was he? Did he have more than like 2 lines? Did he say anything? I only know the only way that I appreciate Azazel being in First Class is I can pronounce it now.
Right.
I'm like, thank you, Kevin Bacon. I now know what that word actually says. Pop Culture Guy returns. Say seriously, there's reason the only thing X fans liked from his tenure was the animal abuse issue from the Ultimate X-Men and his King Hyperion plot from the Exiles. I mean, Exiles is just, that's always fun. But yeah, I don't really think I can give him credit for any of those things. Not that I don't think he wrote it. I just don't really like any of it. Bryce Harriet, hey, Sal and Tiffany.
Hello.
Back issues never fails to make me laugh. A bit off topic, but does Omni-Man work as a deconstruction because Mark is a reconstruction? I think Mark is more like a commentary or he's a reinterpretation of the modern superhero, or like at best, and just a genuine attempt at a modern version of the classic hero archetype, superhero archetype. Omni-Man, I don't think he works as a Superman deconstruction as much as he works as a parody. Like he is his own character. He is meant to evoke imagery of Superman, though I don't really see many parallels between Omni-Man and Superman until Superman became a dad, and even then the similarities are few and far between once you drop the familiar or the physical. I don't think that he works as a deconstruction, although I'm sure that anyone can write a paper about him being a deconstruction, or just use him as an example. And the fact is, if you have a character who is super strong, who can shoot lasers out of his eyes, and has a cape on and flies, that's Superman deconstruction. You're already there. I mean, Dr. Manhattan is a Captain Atom analog, and yet he is a Superman deconstruction all the time. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, again, if you're working on a paper, feel free to use them as an example. Homelander, Superior, Omni-Man, knock yourself out. But just don't go too deep, because you might not find much gold. Hulkzilla, thank you for your super chat, man. Thanks for your support. Happy Monday, and a great week to the ComicPop crew. Well, thank you.
Thank you
I will
much.
extend your wishes to the rest of the team.
Appreciate it.
Chocobo Kid, Merry Tifmas, and a Sal New Year. Thank you.
I like that.
Yeah, I like it too. Cat Lawyer, the Fin for Treats. The big thanks, creating the best comic book discourse. Well, thank you. We're trying.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And Pop Culture Guy 3000 returns. I just saw Godzilla -1. Dear Lord, if the most heart-wrenchingly emotional Godzilla film ever. The scenes of destruction were harrowing as well. Interesting. I have not seen it. I'm not a Godzilla guy. I probably will never see it.
It's in the same line as the Shin Godzilla. Which is
not in the same continuity, but in the same vein, right? It's I don't know. Or is it the same universe?
I honestly don't know. Because I wasn't a big fan of Shin Godzilla. No. But now that I would give it a second try, because
knowing what it is now.
Yeah.
Well, because the best way to watch Shin Godzilla.
I watched that in a vacuum, because I really wasn't paying attention to it whatsoever, and that was literally Ben brought it over because a coworker told him that we should watch it.
The worst way to introduce anybody to Shin Godzilla is to say, this might be the greatest Godzilla movie I've heard ever existed. and we need to watch it right now, regardless of what we're doing or what we're planning today.
That did happen.
And then just shove it into the machine and then just make you watch.
and
Like
you know
being
what?
held
Like,
hostage by Shin Godzilla is not the way to do
the
it.
internet at my fingertips. I could have looked it up and I could have known a little bit more, right?
Right.
Like,
But it was
and
just
we-
like all I
talked
knew
about
was that
this-
it was the greatest thing in the world.
And we talked about this before, that like most of it was like I'm sitting there and like, you know, there's a certain scene in which there's like a specific music that plays and I'm like,
What? Yeah, you're like, that's
even killing me. I'm like, wow, like, does it just sound like it? And like, I haven't heard it in a minute. And then, you know, because I have the internet at my fingertips, I looked it up and I was like, oh, I see. But yeah, I think I would give it a try because I've heard really glowing reviews of this new one.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I guess I'll watch it.
Right.
But I won't watch it with you. I won't make you watch that.
Thank you. Just don't care about monsters.
I get you.
Smashing buildings. Matthew Terlaga, any chance of seeing Gore the God Butcher showing up on the couch? Reread it, and then the art, especially the faces, ridiculous and meme worthy.
We'll try to get him for the couch, but I don't know if his schedule's going to line up with ours.
He's tough. Yeah, I don't think he's even alive right now, but he can always come back. I mean, you know. But seriously, thank you very much for your super chat.
So thank you.
But also, yeah, one of these days, you know, Gore, you know, it's like he's intrinsically connected to the entire Aaron run, so it's like it's hard to like isolate like the God Butcher period as like a story, you know. And so I've been avoiding it. Hayden Hamilton, any chance of doing Tom Taylor's Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man on back issues? I'd also love more Beta Ray, Dick Grayson, Daredevil. Thanks. Yeah, I love Beta Ray Bill. If I can get more, I will. Daredevil is always something I want to return to, and Dick Grayson is a character that I love very much. I have a number of Nightwing books I want to cover, and he just always gets bumped. But no, you won't be seeing Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man on the show. Anyway, let's talk about some more books.
Okay.
What else you got?
I got like two more.
Okay.
One more before the main event. The main event.
Mm-hmm.
Flash number 3 came out this week. Hey,
Flash
folks,
3.
I'm reading the Flash book.
You are 3 issues in on a Flash
I've read
book.
3 Flash books
In a row.
Yay for me.
Yeah.
This is Cy Spurrier with art by Mark
Deodato
Jr.
Yeah.
I was like, is it Mark?
It is.
I questioned myself. Mike. It's
Mike.
Mike.
Damn
I
it.
knew it. I knew I was wrong. It's Mike Deodato Jr.
Yeah.
And man, I think this book is super fun. Again, I don't know how Flash fans feel about this, but man,
I don't know.
This book is super fun and dark, and it's out there, and like you're gonna see some look at how good this is. Look at how good this panel is.
Oh yeah.
Like, isn't that incredible?
Yeah. Yeah. When you let Deodato cook, I think you get a good meal.
Freaking yeah. And it's dealing with a lot of things that I'm like, do I know what's going on here? I don't know. You're throwing around science words.
Right.
I'm gonna need Ethan at some point to clarify.
He's just gonna go, no, it's stupid.
I don't know.
He's gonna be like, no, that's not how that works.
Does some research, I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe. He's a writer.
Although he might be like, it might be one of those things where he's like, well, okay.
He uses the word and he uses it correctly, but there's no way it would happen.
Oh, that is very much an Ethan thing to say. But yeah, like I really love this series. And again, I don't pretend to know the Flash history at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just really am enjoying the way that the characters are being written. I'm really enjoying the way in which Cy is giving those of us who maybe aren't Flash fans or Flash historians, you know, enough context to feel comfortable in this world and to get it. Part of me would love to see Cy write some Mr. Terrific because he's in it like briefly. But I do like his voice for him. Yeah. You know, I'm not even going to pretend to guess where this book is going. Right. It's just really well done. And again, it does feel smart. It feels very smart. Max Mercury shows up in this issue, which is funny because I guess they indicate that he has like a bit of like a spiritualism to him.
Yes,
right?
he does.
And like Mr. Terrific is like, he had to deal with Zatanna, apparently. Like he had a conversation off panel.
Oh, cool.
He's like, I've already done that. I'm not dealing with this. I'm gonna go hang out with the scientists, essentially. Right? Yeah. Max utilizes his abilities to try to like resonate to the same frequency
as
or
Wally.
his aura as Wally in order to see what Wally is seeing. And when they get there, they see like this incredible like destructive energy going towards them, and they're like, we need to get out of here now. And so they do, and when they get out there, Impulse shows up. He's like, hey guys, blah blah blah, let's get this out. And that's when they realize, they're like, okay, they'd already addressed the fact that they weren't in like an alternate dimension or anything. This was just Earth, but being looked at a different angle.
Yes.
And so they've come to realize that they're like, wait, we never really truly understood what the Speed Force was doing to anything.
Mm-hmm.
Are we like wrecking things?
Yeah. This is a topic that came up during the Cy Spurrier interview. He mentioned that the Speed Force might be more like Lovecraftian.
Yes. So like, I'm looking forward to seeing this goes. Like, again, this feels like a little tip of the iceberg there. We get, introduced to like, a baddie.
Oh no.
And
the baddie that's depicted on the cover?
Yes, to some degree.
Okay.
And then unfortunately lose Max Mercury, presumably for right now. He gets left behind. We don't know what happens to him. Right?
Oh
no. But it does give us this great, like, kind of classic looking panel.
Yes.
Right? Where they're like, Impulse is like, where's Max?
Yeah.
And Wally's like, oh yeah, he didn't make it, man. Sorry. Cool. We don't even say that. Like, it's just, I'm enjoying it. It's a little darker. I know for a lot of people, like, Flash, there's like a hopefulness to it. But like, I'm telling you guys, you gotta believe in the Bob Ross of it all. You gotta have the darkness in order to have the light. We're trust me, like, we'll probably get there.
Yeah.
So good stuff.
I read, of course, as always, Predator versus Wolverine. This one was number 3 from Ben Percy, Ken Lashley, and Juan Fernandez, and Kai Zama, and Hayden Sherman. This is the ongoing, or it's a miniseries, but the ongoing saga of Wolverine fighting this damn Predator throughout his entire history.
Okay.
And this one was interesting. Now, obviously,
refresh my memory. Is it the same Predator?
I think it's the same Predator, which I don't like, but I don't like a lot of what Marvel's done with Predator. I like this series because it's just pretty simple. All I could do is compare it to better things, which, like, look, you know what? That's going to happen. I'm just saying. Like, I didn't like Batman Predator 2, but at the end of Batman Predator 1, that Predator died. And then another Predator was like, well, that's a dude I can hunt because he's never been beaten before.
That Predator that we sent there was a chump.
Right. Well, that's what
that's
what that young Predator thinks.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's almost more in keeping with what I consider to be Predator lore than what we're seeing here. Wolverine also casually starts referring to the Predator species name, which I hate. And I know Predator fans have come to expect or to come to accept that, like, they're called the Yodga or whatever I refuse to learn its pronunciation. It's so stupid that they have a name, that we have to say it, that they carried it over, like that they didn't Star Wars it and just throw it away.
Admittedly, they probably, they have the ability to fly ships
in
space. They probably have a name.
They probably do. Why would we know it? They don't speak English.
No, I know. Well, maybe that's the one thing they say.
Yeah.
They can say, like, want some candy and other things.
Right, exactly.
That might, get us in trouble.
Right, but they won't say their own species name.
Might.
But Predator's dope. But anyway, the lone Predator has been hunting Wolverine throughout his entire history. In this story, of course, like, we're seeing the present story, which is drawn exclusively by Ken Lashley, and it's basically its own story. Where just like it's the final confrontation between the Wolverine and the Predator, and we're just seeing that, and it's like, oh, that's cool. And that's always like pushed to the side to see, like, the last time in history that the Predator has fought with Wolverine. In this one, we're finally caught up to at least the Barry Windsor Smith Weapon X era, but not. We're right before that, where a Predator found a Predator discovers the Weapon X program and finds Wolverine or Logan under the knife and inspects him and sees that his bones have now been laced with adamantium. And so he sticks a thing in his mouth and burns his flesh off, leaving a skull and nothing else, and then throws his body over his shoulder and throws him into his spaceship. He's going to take him as a trophy. Okay, I'm done. You're a metal man now. So I'm just going to kill you and just move on. So he does, and he throws him in. And of course, Wolverine heals and then blasts out of there before the Predator can presumably take him back to his home planet or wherever. Also, we are continuing this, like, will they, won't they nonsense with Predator licensing and the Alien license, in that, obviously one of the most memorable things of Predators and Aliens in the last 25, 30 years is that the most successful times they've teamed up or crossed over in any way is in the comic books, and Alien vs. Predator is a known property. And it's, of course, also two horribly disappointing movies. But with the Disney / Marvel acquisition, we refuse to cross those properties over, presumably for some kind of big grand purpose, which we'll never see. And so there's a big scene. This is all to say. Well, there's a big scene where the Predator looks at a trophy wall, and there's a million different skulls, and none of them are a xenomorph, which is more than I could say for Predator 2, which no one expected 40 years ago. So that's another shut up.
Okay.
What are you doing? We also see that the Predator is hunting Wolverine when he decides to go to Japan, and that's really fun for the 3 pages it is. It looks great.
I bet.
We also establish in this continuity, Lord knows what continuity this is actually set in, but when Wolverine fell out of the ship, because of course the ship was also under fire from both the American and Canadian government trying to get their specimen back.
Sure.
But when Wolverine fell, he brought a Predator mask with him. And they're like, this is where the helmet that Wolverine wears in the Barry Windsor Smith book came from. They derived that technology they reverse engineered the technology from the Predator helmet into Wolverine's virtual reality, or not really, but his puppet helmet. And I'm like, okay. This is the kind of schlock I guess I'm looking for in this kind of book.
They're like, is this what you want? You're like, I don't know anymore. Is this what I want?
Yeah.
The answer is yes, you do, Sal.
I like it. I've liked the last 2.
You don't sound like you like it.
Well, because it's just, it's never just, they never just do it, they never just do the thing. They're always like, oh, I'm so clever, I'm going to do something like the thing. This is actually, they are doing the thing. Wolverine, it's Predator. Remember when Wolverine was a mountain man? Well, the Predator fights him there. Remember when the Wolverine was a samurai? Well, he fights him there. That's fun. That's exactly what I want to see. Right. But we're also doing it in 4 pages. And so it's we can never do it again. We can never just do a full ass 6 issue or 4 issue or 2 issue.
That's what they're telling you.
Yeah, that is what they're telling me. But there's no reason not to, is my point.
I don't know if they think it'll sell.
Yeah. But it's just, it's fun, and I hope it continues to sell well, because I want to see more of these. Maybe not by Percy or something. I don't know.
Okay.
But it's still fun.
Okay.
And it's well written, and I'm really I was here for the flashbacks, but I'm really enjoying the present day story.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. It's exactly what I'm asking for. That present day story is oh, that's it.
That's it. Okay.
You've got it. Stop drilling.
You fit oil.
Yeah. Someone joked, do you remember when Predator took on Patch? Yeah, you're not. Yeah, he is going to take on Patch.
I believe it.
Yeah. Abe Sapien says, hey, Poppers, watch Godzilla. -1 this last weekend. Monster fans, please go watch this movie. Also, I love Cy Spurrier. Thank you both for introducing me to their work. Hey,
yay!
I'm so glad, man. Enjoy.
Hooray!
Thanks for your support. Nikki T, speaking of Superman 78, have you heard anything about the sequel that Venditti's working on? Wonder who the villain will be since they did Brainiac. Metallo? I don't know. I haven't read much of the series outside of the initial. But no, I have not heard anything. So I hope it's good. Denial, Tiffany, I have to know, when you read Luke Cage, did you also have a laugh at who he's going up against in this book?
Yeah, a little bit. Do you know who it is?
No, I have no idea.
The son of Alistair Smythe.
What? Spencer Smythe? Oh my God. It's the Super Spider Slayer.
Yep. And Luke Cage has to deal with him.
Good. Let him. Luke won't, Spider-Man kick his ass, but Luke will beat his ass.
Exactly.
That's great. Yeah. Good use of these characters.
Right?
And Thorn Identity, thank you for your support,
thank
man.
You very much.
At work, something cool. You guys rule. Well, thank you. You do too.
Much.
Thanks for the lols and the consistently solid analysis of both the work and the medium at large. Much needed. Well, thank you very much. Thorn Identity, we appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for your contributions yourself. Lenny Laserdisc, Side Sound Tiffany, just sending some love. Well, thank you very much, Lenny.
Hello.
And the infamous Mike Manhattan, did you hear Ivan Rice is joining Ghost Machine? Yes, I did hear that.
I did not. But
Yep.
now I did.
Yep.
But now.
Yep. Ivan Rice is joining the annals of such creators as I believe Steve McNiven, Jason Fabok, certainly, and Jeff Johns, and the rest. I hope it works out for him. I know Rice is very excited about it. Like he was like, this is my last. He did a book for DC that I read. We'll talk about that later. But like he's very excited about it. I hope it works out for him.
Okay.
I'm sure, as he is a professional, that let's say that if in like a year's time he happens to be available for comic book work, that he will be back at DC or perhaps at Marvel. But I'm sure that Ghost Machine will be a huge success. What do you got?
I only have one more thing.
Oh,
so
well,
what
then
do you got? Did you read Howard the Duck?
No.
I knew you would. That's why I wanted to ask.
Good. I'm glad you asked. Titans Beast World #1 from Tom Taylor and Ivan Rice.
I thought you said you were not doing any wars.
I know. I was sick of it, but I was like, all right.
Like, I can't help it.
I found myself with time in my hands. I was like, I'll read Beast World. I think I have this font, by the way.
Really?
The Beast World font. Yeah, I definitely have that. Doesn't have that Starro on it though.
Oh, I got added.
Yeah, obviously.
They added it in post.
Definitely. Yeah, no. So, this is the Titans event that is part of the DC universe, or Dawn of DC period, where Night Terrors happen. Now this. How about this?
And
here's the frustrating part, is that it looks great.
Does it really?
Rice knocks this book out of the park. It's a gorgeous looking book. It's classic superheroics with a modern flair that you cannot miss. You have to check out this issue. If you love Ivan Rice's work, do yourself a favor and read Beast World at the very least. The idea is really fun. There's a carryover from the Titan series, cult leaders, blah, blah, blah. He's going into space, knocks on a thing on Titan, one of the many moons, and awakens a slumbering giant, which is some kind of like an ancient Tamaranian monster that Starfire recognizes. And so she scrambles like everybody, and they all spring into action. And Gar, Beast Boy, comes up with a brilliant scheme, because they were like, how did you beat him last time? And she's like, we didn't. Starro beat him. Like, Starro came into these two giant like space starfish, fought. One of them was like more scary. That's the new character. I can't remember what it's called. It's like the Death Eater or Death Monster or something like that. It's
okay.
Whatever. But so they fight, and then they pushed it on, and they buried it on Titan. And so Gar's like, I got an idea. Since we can't just call Jarro, and I'm like, why? They didn't say that. I'm just saying, like, hey, what about Jarro? But so he goes into the ocean, and he launches into space, and he turns himself into a Starro. So Gar becomes Starro, or Garro, and
is that what they're calling him?
That's what he calls himself.
Okay,
and
it's right there.
Yeah, he's dope. Like he fights this ancient beast, and then works in tandem with Cyborg to like send him into another galaxy, which is like cold and frozen. That'll like ice him up and make him like stay from here. Like, pushes him away. But then. He bumps into Dr. Hate. Remember Dr. Hate? He was a creation of Joshua Williamson's in Night Terrors.
Yeah, I do.
It's the big fallout of Night Terrors. Dr. Hate works for Amanda Waller, and here he is again. And he's like, F you, and he kills Gar.
What?
Yep. And essentially, Gar, like, or rather, he turns off Gar. It's not really clear, but like, basically, Gar is a Starro. And now he's just a Starro. So like his spores pop off, and so he's infecting everybody. But they're being infected with like a Beast Boy version of Starro. So they're turning into animals.
Okay.
That are also under his thrall. And I'm like, right on.
So the Thanagarian like beast thing was really just
no Tamaranian.
Sorry. The Tamaranian beast thing.
That was a prelude or a red herring.
Yeah. It was just a vehicle.
Yes. It was an inciting it was an inciting incident.
Yeah.
But it was great. So I enjoyed it, and I was like, oh, that's a fun twist. That's a cool idea. And so I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. So like, all right, let's do it. Like, all right, Beast World or Wars or whatever. I don't know. So
All
yeah,
right. All right. Is that running across a bunch of?
sure.
Okay.
I won't be reading them.
Sure. Okay.
Well, let's see. I don't actually know like what the reading order is.
Okay.
I think it might be in this, but I don't
It-
recall.
Well, it's definitely in the end of the Flash book,
Yeah,
I think. Oh, also, did you see the Keith Giffen?
I did. I saw it
Thing?
on Twitter somewhere.
But
Like,
I liked all.
but I
the,
like they're using it.
I liked all the quotes.
Oh yeah, that's really
They had
nice.
words from
From
friend-
different
Yeah, I was like,
like
that's really,
colleagues.
really nice.
Yeah, there you go. The Beast World.
Yeah, it looks like it'll be mostly Titans Beast World, and then Action Comics. There'll be a Nightwing in there. Nightwing makes total sense.
Yeah.
It looks like it's mostly going to be Beast World.
Yeah.
So
all right,
that's
cool.
a lot easier to follow.
It does,
except for that one Action Comics in there.
Yeah, I won't be reading that. But I do like how much shorter it looks. I think it looks a lot more manageable.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right. Turn people into animals. Okay, that's their vehicle for doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Knock yourself out.
Totes.
Yeah. So then, also we have
nothing else came out this week, and nothing exciting happened.
No, nobody's excited or
upset
frothing at the mouth
or
about
mad
anything. That's
about
good to
it.
know.
It's not what happens, because we're comic book readers and we're all mature
Completely.
adults who can have civil discourse about our made-up characters.
Well, good. I'm glad.
And like if there were something big that came out, we would all be able to
Like-
ponder on it philosophically and not scream at one another.
Yeah, or monetize other people's like discomfort.
You know what? I bet we would not do that either. Oh wait, hang on. X-Men Blue Origins #1 came out this week by Cy Spurrier and Marcus Toe and Wilton Santos.
Great.
This was supposed to be a issue that like filled in some of the conversation between, Mystique and Nightcrawler, and filled
from
in
the Uncanny Spider-Man
from
series.
the Uncanny Spider-Man series. Some folk are wondering why is not. So I just saw one comment earlier that was like, "Why is Nightcrawler Spider-Man?" Due to the gala and Xavier pushing everyone away, some folk were able to resist him and stay, but they need to kind of hide out, and so Nightcrawler is hiding out and dealing with his trauma and not wanting to have to deal with anything by pretending to be Spider-Man for a little bit.
Yep.
And Mystique's been running around. She resisted Charles, presumably into what seemed like her death.
Yes.
Turns out she's okay, but she's not okay. Her mind seems to have reset to a different time period where she doesn't know where her baby is. Now, obviously, we know that Nightcrawler and Mystique are related to one another.
Yeah.
And so he's been like keeping an eye on her, but not saying anything. And here's the conversation where he's like, "Okay, I'm your kid.
Cards on the table.
Remember?
Let's talk about this.
Come on, right?" And then everybody had a problem.
Right. Which by the way, like
variety of problems.
Yeah, and like it's interesting how I think like as well, we'll talk about it, but like let's just talk about what happens in the book.
Yeah, all right. So this issue starts off with like, "Hey, let's catch you up on the Hellfire Gala," and I appreciate this.
It really does like
Spurrier acts as though like you might have just picked this up because you're a Mystique and Nightcrawler fan, and maybe you just want
or
to read
Spider-Man fan,
or a Spider-Man fan, and you just want to know what's going on. And he literally treats this issue like you have not been reading, and I appreciate that. Right,
because even though we have been reading, it actually is really helpful.
Well,
to
yeah,
kind of, like,
but I appreciate like that also giving like he's like, "No, I'm going to treat this like this is your first time reading X-Men for a minute,"
right?
So he doesn't go into everything. Like he certainly doesn't go into like Kurt working with Legion and like
or the Sable stuff
and all that. Like he doesn't go into any of that. He's just like, here's
what you need to know.
X-Men been weird.
Yeah.
And then he explains what happens at the Hellfire Gala. He explains what happens to Mystique, and then he fills you in as needed. He utilizes the little imp thing that has been like haunting.
Yeah, he calls him Kurt's imaginary friend.
Yeah, well, that's what he refers to him as. But then he's just like, "I'm actually a super special, like important thing." And I was like, I know. Sorry,
I know you're not just.
I know, but I appreciate it anyway.
Yeah.
So just excellently handled the idea of like, "Hey, you might be new here,
right?
Here's what you need to know.
Here's the context.
You might need to know a little more than that, but this is what I'm feeling like you need to know right now, right?"
Which was exactly what I needed to know in order to follow this issue, and nothing more.
I was like, okay, cool. Like I was good, obviously.
Well, sure.
I've been keeping up with a lot of the Kurt stuff in particular.
It's true.
But Kurt is like, "Hey, listen, like, it's me, basically. Like, let's chat about what I know about you. So he proceeds to basically talk to her, and they kind of go over what her origin was.
Right. He's like, this is what I know your origin to be.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh.
Yeah. And like, she's like, yes. No, she's like, yes, you're right. You're right. Like, oh, you pretended to be the wife of Baron Christian Wagner, right? And then, you know, inevitably like had an affair with
Azazel.
Thank you. I was like, how do we say it now? Azazel. In which like, you know, you became pregnant, and like people started to wonder, like, was it because like, you know, Azazel was floating around other
He's
folk,
already in the picture,
right? Like, oh gee, like, you know, is this his child or not, right? She had to flee and then ended up leaving her child behind. She lost him in the woods, right? And she's like, but I'm like missing something here, right?
Yeah. Oh, and this also explains like why he's like a blue demon as opposed to being like, you know, this is also, of course, like, I believe that the Mystique being the mom at all was a retcon initially, because they were just like, oh, they're both blue. And then, but like, what about the demon part? And they're like, oh, well, that's Azazel, and now that's why he has he looks like a demon,
right? And
not just like because he's just born,
and not just because of the fact that it's like like mutant children don't always end up being having the exact same power set or like anything on that, but like it's fine, whatever.
That's
where they wanted to go.
It's a retcon that we've all been living with for a long time.
Yeah, sure. Kurt pulls out the sword that he has. I love this explanation where like the little imaginary guy is like, don't worry about the sword. And then like Kurt goes into he's like, damn it.
Oh, never mind. Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, we're going to talk about the Hope Sword. He gives it to Mystique in order to hopefully like help to restore some of those memories. And what it does is it like shatters something there.
Yes.
And she's like, oh, and she's starting to repeat the story a little bit, but she's like, no, I was in the woods and I had to go back to save my wife. Wait, what?
Yeah.
So like Kurt's like, wait, Destiny was there? And then like she starts piecing it together. And I really do love this description of their relationship where it's like, it's not a healthy relationship.
How could it be?
Like it's just like
neither of them is a particularly stable person.
Right. Like it's just, you know, like they are so into one another, but like they're too into one another, like where it's like they can only handle it for so long and they have to put it on hold.
I know people in that relationship.
Oh God, no. And like, so they're like always together, but they also take lovers, but the lovers have to be selected.
Yes.
So that it serves you, so that you know it's not like an
gonna
actual
be for
romantic interest. It has to be something that's going to get you something, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, a really hard thing to believe for either of these two characters, right? Like, of course, that's how it would be.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Like, yes. But like it is the fact that like, yes, she was pretending to be the, like, you know,
all that stuff you remember about the Baron is still in there.
Totally happens, right? But then she ends up hiring Destiny as her maid, right? Which I was just like, listen, all right, that's kinky. Like, watch me bang this guy. I guess.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, she did say like the relationship was quickly wearing out.
Right.
Like, this guy was just ever so horribly boring. And Mystique encouraged her to go after Azazel.
Yes.
Destiny encourages Mystique to go after Azazel. She's like, yeah, totally go for it. Go nail that guy. I'm going to be in the closet.
And she's like, he's even
listening.
Yeah, right, exactly. Also often dressed like Superman. But yeah, no, and she finds like Azazel was even more boring than her like count's boyfriend.
She's like, I thought maybe, nope,
not even interesting.
Not even remotely close to being anything I want, right? And like Mystique assumes that what's happening is that like Destiny's been like weird and a little distant, and the fact that she thinks what it is that like they're clearly going to be breaking up for a little bit, like they do. Like she's like,
I'm going to leave.
She wanted me to be like distracted by Azazel and be like, oh no, see, you're gonna be good. I'll see you like in a year or two, right? Or whatever, however often this comes back around. But it turns out that she's like, no, you know, I've been thinking about like, you know, we like there have been children, but like I thought maybe we could do it like intentionally, like as a family, right? Like just you and me. And so they do, and Destiny ends up being the carrier of said baby. Mystique pretends to be pregnant in order to make sure that the Baron feels like he's done, because he's looking for a kid. He wants an heir.
Yeah, and he also suspects that he's being cheated on anyway. So it's a good way to keep things
right.
Yeah.
So like he discovers the two of them,
and also because in the comics she was pregnant, and we've seen flashbacks where she was. So like we need to explain how she.
But she wants to stay there, and like he makes it ever so much easier for her because he discovers them and she kills him, and then she's like, I'll just pretend to be
him and her,
and it's fine. I like, you know, I'll get the money and whatever I need. Destiny gives birth. The kid comes out blue. The doctor
And a demon.
And the doctor's like, he's not really like, I don't know.
The doctor, I think, is like he died because he's so blue.
Yeah, he's just like, I'm not really. He's unresponsive and he's not crying. Like clearly he's dead.
And remember that like this is Destiny, the maid who had the
Yes.
baby. So they're like, no one's really that upset. They're just kind of like, oh, that's a shame, but like, you know, moving on.
Oh, the maid lost the baby. That's
Exactly.
fine. It's probably for the best anyway. Because people are creeps. But then like Destiny has this moment where she's like, I can't have my child see me
No,
pretending.
Mystique says that.
Oh, sorry. Mystique, keep talking about the
I know there.
stop going back and forth on. Mystique is holding Nightcrawler and it's like, I can't have him see me for the first time not be blue.
Yeah.
So she turns blue.
Right.
And
the
like,
secret's out.
And the two of them like are like cuddling and the doctor's like,
I've got a lot of problems with what I'm seeing right now.
Right. Mostly it's like he believes that there's a devil.
Yes.
Right? Because like since Azazel was there.
Right. It's like there's already a precedent.
The rumor mill's going round and round and round. I'm sure he was like, visiting many of the people in the village. But they're coming with their pitchforks and their, anger and all that. And Destiny's like, no, it's cool. Don't worry. You go with the kid. I'll be fine. I've seen it.
Right. I know
I'm fine. Don't worry about it. So Mystique makes a run for it. The villagers chase her, but then they give up.
Yes.
Presumably because they're villagers. They're not really committed to this.
No,
they're just kind of like...
Well, something probably just hoved into their field of vision and they were like, oh, let's go to the old mill and get some cider.
Like they're just like, no. They turn back to go get Destiny. They're gonna get her. They're gonna hang her. So Mystique's like, all right, I have like 5 minutes. I have to run back. I need to get her because she said she's going to be okay, and clearly she isn't. This is another example of every time Mystique chooses not to trust Destiny.
Yep.
So she leaves Kurt like in a little blanket in the crook like of a tree. Goes to find that that Destiny is gone. Mystique returns to the forest where
Baby's gone.
Baby is gone. And it's like, I abandoned my boy.
Right. And Kurt's like, well, it's okay. It's me.
Because I'm right here. And she's like, I know, but you're not really my kid. Meh. And you're like,
what does that mean?
What does that mean? Why are you so mad about this? Right.
Right. Exactly.
And then like we unlock some more memories in which Mystique finds out that Destiny is still alive. And she's like, I am going to murder you. Like, how could I love you and hate you so freaking much? Right.
Yeah.
And she's like, not now. Because what we see is Anna Marie. Right? Rogue, future Rogue, sitting in a playground all alone, and she's like, "I need you to go to her,
right?
And they need you to bring her in because, like, literally, like the worst people in the world are going to come get her and, like,
sell her into the sex trade. It's going to be horrible. So instead, Mystique recovers Rogue, and then that's all the same.
Earlier, she had said when they had a boy, she was like, "I wanted a girl,"
right? So all right,
she's like, "Now I got my girl," right? And that's when Destiny reveals to Mystique that the entire time with Kurt that it was all she made that happen, not because she was like, I really want to have a kid with you, but because Azazel was going to become a problem and he would have presumably like
taken over the Marvel universe,
over everything, right? But what bothered her is it would destroy the two of them. That's what matters, right? Don't forget, in terms of Destiny and Mystique, all that matters is Destiny and Mystique, right? Like they don't care about anything else. That's what they care about, right? So she's like, so basically, like, I needed to give him a son that he thought was his.
It would distract him. I'll create like a plot that he will be wrapped up in.
He has plenty, but this kid in particular has to be raised. He's got to become like Batman.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's like literally, it's like he has to be raised a certain way so he believes these things and he won't be able to help himself, but go and give his father a hard time and try to stop him.
Exactly.
Like, that's what had to happen. Mystique's like,
wow.
Like, are you a monster?
Yeah. Didn't you know that?
Right. But like, yeah, I thought you were a monster, but like, we were like the same kind of monster. Turns out like you're like a
super monster. Yeah.
Like what?
Well, I don't feel bad for either of them because they destroyed Krakoa, but whatever.
Right. No, they're literally the worst.
Oh, and they're murderers.
Right. I love that like Anna Marie is like sleeping and Mystique is like
trying to kill her.
She's like, I'm going to murder you. So they go to Chuck.
They go to couples counseling called Professor X, where they go to Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
And like Destiny's like, I don't want to remember any of it. I don't want to remember any of it.
Right.
Like, nope. Don't want to know any of it. All I want to do is think about my wife and my daughter. That's the end of it. And Mystique's like,
and I want to remember that I have a son.
Oh yeah, I want to know that I have a son and I'm looking for him.
Yeah.
And Professor X, I love this because he's just like, okay, listen, Raven, I need you to understand something that might cause you to become a worse person than you could imagine.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate because they're basically saying like, so everything she did, it all happened.
Yep.
That's why she's like that.
Yep.
That's why she's like that, right?
Yeah. So he mind waves himself and them.
Yeah,
and
because he's like, and I don't want to remember.
I don't remember.
this.
This is too personal.
I don't need. This is just a waste of my time.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't need to know this.
Yeah, I want my 10 minutes back. So he mind waves himself and
he
sends her off. And that's like, and it's because of the like psychic push that Xavier gave all the mutants and Raven especially.
That it undoes his work, and she sort of went back, and then the sword unlocks
the rest
else.
of it.
And there it is. And then the two of them hug, and you're like, okay.
Oh, okay. And now I can get back to reading Uncanny Spider-Man, and there'll be no interruption of the story.
And the end, who cares? There's nothing more to talk about. I'm kidding. Okay. So this is basically retconned who Kurt's parents are.
Mm-hmm.
And cause all sorts of hullabaloo out there. So let's chat a little bit about.
Yeah, there's a number of the issues. I would like to address one of the most inconsequential ones first, if you don't mind.
Sure.
The fact that he looks like a demon, because some people don't think that it was explained how, where the Azazel fits into all of this.
Right.
And I think that it is explained that Mystique used
like the genetic
memory of Azazel,
and others
to make Kurt, which explains why Kurt looks the way he does, and how he is in any way connected to Azazel, even if he isn't the literal son of Azazel.
Right.
So okay, that's that.
Yes.
I just figured we'd address that because it is in the comic. I know that people are treating it like it. They're like, oh, we're just gonna ignore the fact that he has a tail. And it's no, they don't ignore it.
No, here's the specific panel in which Mystique says, normally I wouldn't dirty my hands with gametes. Borrowing traits from the flesh, I touched the people I've known, Christian, Azazel, and countless others. They were but shades on my palette, and yet. When you say something like that, shades on my palette, that means they're indicating the palette of a painter's palette. They're talking about creation. She's talking about the tools that she had in order to make this happen. Right. We then later on, we get a page from Dr. Nemesis's journal where he talks about Ray or Mystique's abilities and how he's like, I don't want to call her an Omega level mutant because that would indicate that she could mimic the X genes of someone else, but she can't do that. But maybe she could.
If she tried hard enough.
She doesn't necessarily seem to be interested.
She's not motivated enough to do it.
Right.
For the most part.
So essentially, the concept here is that it's not that just that she's a shapeshifter,
right?
Because if she was a shapeshifter, she wouldn't be able to do all the things that she's able to necessarily do. And he really breaks it down in a way where I was like, oh, I really appreciate that. Where he's like, think about what she's able to do and how quickly she's able to do it.
Right.
So it's not just that; she's actually resequencing things.
No, exactly.
She's a gene shaper.
Yes,
that's what he's
getting at.
That she is, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Right. Got it. All right. Doesn't change anything that I know Mystique to be, and I don't care. So great.
Well, and here's the thing. Every time, how many characters have been changed where they create science or do something or whatever, and then later on maybe they go, no, that's not it. I don't know, whatever, right?
Connor Kent wasn't originally the clone of Lex Luthor and Superman,
right? So this really doesn't bother me. I mean, it's building on a foundation that already existed. It's really just changing the way in which she does something.
Yes.
It goes from being she shapeshifts to let's try to figure out how that might work, right?
Yeah.
I just don't think it's that big a deal.
No, it's not.
I didn't necessarily realize how many hardcore Mystique fans are out there until they made a change.
There's some schools of thought about that. I think that it's not. I don't think there are. I think that people are big fans of Mystique. I think Mystique is an interesting character, and I think that she's a more interesting drawing. I think people really find that cool.
Right.
I think that the more, look, getting real for a second.
Yeah.
Comic book fans pride themselves on knowing shit. I like to know.
Sure.
I gotta know what happened.
Yeah.
And I trade in what I know, and I value. I place value on me knowing more than you and knowing specific, intimate details about that.
Mm-hmm.
And when you change that stuff, it really messes me up because I place a significant and inflated value on knowing that inconsequential stuff.
Right.
And so there's that element to it that makes people just lose it.
Right.
But there's also another element.
Yes. So, okay. So, I mean, like,
but we'll get into it.
Yeah. Characters have had like shifts in terms of like, oh, actually their powers are this. Oh, actually their powers are that. Oh, actually their powers are this. It happens all the time.
It happens all the time.
There's another element here. There's a couple of elements. We're going to get into the other larger element that I've noticed that people seem to be having an issue with. And
sure.
I think the issue is that the idea is that she is the father of Kurt.
Right.
And Mystique has been a guy
before. And it's just, and
I have a feeling that even if you don't see all the parts, she's mimicking all the parts.
Exactly. Like, and as she says,
if she had to go through a body scan, they're going to be like, you're missing something.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, it's happened a lot.
Yeah.
It's where even Kurt is like, you played God. And
right.
Like, don't say that.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, don't say that. I'm like, she's just like, I'm different.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I can do this.
Right. I can do it. Why shouldn't I?
Yeah. And presumably what you're supposed to take away from this, and not what ended up being taken away from it. I think what you're supposed to take away from this is that when Mystique is motivated, she can be this powerful.
Exactly.
She was motivated by the love of this person who manipulated her into thinking they wanted to start a family with her. Like, what you're supposed to take away from this is that Destiny is a freaking monster. We already knew that, but she is a monster who manipulated the love of her like wife. I don't know if they're married at that point, honestly, in terms of their history.
They keep calling her his wife. So I think
she manipulated her wife.
Yes.
The love of her life to creating a child.
Right.
In order to
but to save the universe,
to save themselves,
yes. But we also see Captain America's dead too.
But instead of just telling her the truth,
yes, right. No, absolutely.
Right.
Well, but here's the other thing: Mystique is also a monster.
Yes. No,
so
she is.
Maybe she wouldn't have gone along with it.
I don't know, but.
Well, I mean, she's Destiny. She would know.
Right.
The fact is, that's the only way it would have worked out.
No, I know. Mystique is but when she was motivated. So then to follow that up with the Dr. Nemesis thing, I think it's meant to illustrate to you that were Mystique motivated enough, who knows what she could do.
Right. It's the Superman Lex Luthor thing.
Yes.
You could have cured cancer anytime you wanted to if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You could have fixed everything.
Right.
But you don't because you're a selfish asshole.
Right.
Which of course that's what this is about. She is a monster. They're all monsters.
Yeah.
And Kurt is the byproduct of that. But the lesson, I guess, you can derive from this, and we're not putting a button on this, I'm just saying, is that despite the deception and lack of trust and the manipulation and the amorality of it all, you have Kurt.
Yes.
You have this character who is so pure and kind.
Yes, something that was out of such a manipulation and out of manipulation, manipulation of love.
Yes.
Comes Kurt.
Right.
Who is just the heart of the X-Men.
Exactly.
It's incredible, right?
Yeah.
Additionally, it goes to show you that Mystique seemingly really did care and really wanted this. She didn't carry this baby. She still cared about this baby.
And it's interesting because, she really shows that she doesn't. At least that's been her MO for her entire.
Yeah.
As long as I've known Mystique, she has been very arm's length with Kurt, knowing or retconning that he is he is a physical representation of the of the greatest betrayal by her wife.
Yes.
Is kind of a good explanation as to why Mystique is such an asshole to him.
Right, but she
despite also
that.
But that's the thing, is she doesn't
know. She didn't know that,
but it is innate in her.
Yeah, it's in there.
Right. So that's the thought.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, if you want to put it in Batman terminology, Rogue is the daughter they raised.
Yes.
Right? Rogue is a Dick Grayson.
Yes.
It's a Tim. Right?
Yeah.
And it turns out Nightcrawler is actually her Damien.
Yeah.
Where she's no, I made you.
Right, exactly.
And the two of them were connecting. And I'm that's cool, right?
It is cool.
So I have no problem with this. I don't see it being the earth-shattering issue it was.
No.
I do want to talk about something else. We can continue to talk about
please.
This,
Yeah. We want to hit those bullet points.
I definitely want to address something, and there's actually a super chat that relates to this. So I don't know if we want to open
let's open with that.
Up. Is there something about Ethan in there? Nope. Go up. Go up. We're gonna find this. It's gonna be great. No. There it is. Bingo.
Jonathan Stewart says, hi, Sal and Tiffany. Hi, John. Love y'all's content. Confused by the depiction of Nightcrawler's birth. Can Ethan explain it to me?
Okay, Okay.
Oh, also forgot ComicPop Blue. Well, thank you very much, Jonathan.
I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
there is a page
Excuse
in
me.
which we see Kurt's birth.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. We do not need Ethan to explain this to you.
No, in fact, I think it would actually be a mistake because I don't think
I
Ethan
would
knows.
be very happy to explain this to you.
Yeah.
The portrayal of birth that you typically see is one of many ways that women have given birth throughout history. It is a more westernized version of it. It apparently is not even the most comfortable way to give birth.
Mm-hmm.
There are plenty of other ways, and in fact, being on one's hands and knees is a different way in which you can give birth. Apparently, it is particularly useful in the second part of birth, I believe, or like the second portion of it.
Like
it's just
leg.
easier to bear down in order to give birth.
Okay.
And so what I think you're seeing there is that.
Well, you're seeing the second half of it.
It's just more comfortable.
Exactly.
Right? Like it's more comfortable there. Some people noted that there was seemingly pants on Destiny. Well, either A, it's a coloring mistake, or B, I don't know if you've ever mooned anyone, but you can totally pull your pants down and have that area hanging out without fully taking them off.
It's true. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like the birth thing is literally just because we are so used to seeing in movies and TV and all of that, like one way of giving birth. People have given birth sitting in chairs. People have given birth
in water.
People have given birth standing up. People it's just there are many different ways that people can give birth, and that is one of them.
That's one of them. Yeah.
So I wanted to point that out.
That's one other element.
That's one other element. There's also the Chris Claremont of it all.
Right. The fact that apparently or reportedly, and there's actually a link in the chat right now that's pinned, take you to a CBR article that like basically just kind of like breaks down the original Chris Claremont of it, which is of course, and by the way, I know Chris Claremont did not invent Nightcrawler technically. Len Wein carries that distinction, but and really Dave Cockrum, because like he drew him, and that's really for the longest time for me, like Kurt's best attribute is how cool he looks. But but Claremont had his own pitch about Kurt's lineage.
He wanted it to be that Nightcrawler was the son of Nightmare. You know, the Doctor Strange, well, more associated Doctor Strange villain.
Yes.
But Roger Stern was like, no.
Because Roger Stern was working on Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange doesn't happen.
And as I recall, like the only time I ever think about Nightmare in Doctor Strange is when Stern was writing it. So I can imagine Stern which is weird, because you think if you were writing a niche book like Doctor Strange, you might want the support of the X-Men title to kind of like boost your book a little bit. But digression aside, the original pitch from Claremont himself was Nightmare.
Yep, was going to be Dad, and nope, that wasn't going to happen. But
that got kiboshed.
Claremont always wanted Destiny and Mystique to be together. You know, and I think he originally wanted to reveal
that Destiny was the mom.
Yeah. So I think that was like this isn't a pull out of nowhere.
No.
This is a pull that was based in some like kind of forgotten history for this, you know. It's a deep continuity cut, and while it isn't, not all of Claremont's ideas were gold, and of course, not every idea of Claremont's needs to be like retconned in. Yeah, I believe he may have also wanted like Mystique to be the dad.
Yeah, no, he definitely was like,
like this was like it's like here it was, but it just didn't go through. Yeah. So it's like.
The reason to bring it up, because like even though it's a forgotten lore, it's an old like chestnut, for the longest time, Ned Leeds was the Hobgoblin, until they finally decided to like make their own book, but they made a book about it to explain it.
Right.
Is because it's important, I think, to take a step back from where you are in today and recognize that like the talking points of today are told to you in a different language and a different presentation than they were 25, 35 years ago.
Yeah.
And an idea that originally was a fun fan theory / rumor that no one had a problem with 35 years ago is suddenly this like inflammatory, and then add every buzzword that gets clicks and makes money for opportunists. That's what it is instead.
Yeah.
And it's like the reason why I even think it's important to bring up the Claremont thing is because like it wasn't a problem or any of these words that are used to take your money.
Yeah.
Back then, why is it suddenly that? You know, why is it like we finally get a chance to realize this concept, this fan theory that was accepted widely by the X-Men community for the last 40 years? Why is it now suddenly a problem?
Right.
And I think the reason why it's a problem is because it's not really a problem, and the people who tell you it's a problem are actually just trying to take your money.
Right. I mean, really what this does is like, it just proves that Destiny will do anything to get what she wants, which we knew.
Which, so like, I think it'd be interesting
along with who she is, and it also gets Kurt away from Azazel, who is just an asshole.
Right.
Like, I don't understand why, like, fans of Nightcrawler, who I don't know if they're having a problem with this too. It's like, don't you want Kurt to not have to have him as a dad? Like,
I think
wouldn't you rather just have him have some, like, Mystique and he look like they might be building a relationship, and wouldn't that be nice for Kurt right now?
Yeah, I think that they're in my most charitable. I think that people might like the visual of a devout Catholic's father being being a demon, but also you know what I mean? Like, that's like having like, oh, I really want my protagonist to be named Adam. Right. You know, and then being like, oh, but like I did that the last 3 books I've written.
No,
now it seems really convenient, and like, so maybe I'll get something purer and more interesting if I abandon this like very black and white, like transparent thematic concept.
Right. It's funny because it's like, this doesn't, other than change up the fact that he doesn't actually have a direct like lineage to him necessarily, like, it doesn't really do much to them, and it's being treated like this massive retcon.
Well, that's the thing, right? It doesn't actually change anything.
It's not really changing much at all. Like, it's just now like Mystique and he can have a relationship, which they could have had originally if she gave a crap, because you know, she didn't, but now she does. You know what I mean? Like,
and furthermore,
she was still like, before she was his mom, and now she's his mom, in a different way.
Exactly. And those who might consider like the like he came from a broken home or from horrible parentage.
Right.
Yeah, he still did.
Yeah.
Destiny is as much of a monster as Azazel.
Right. He's still like, the thing is, this doesn't undo everything Kurt went through.
No.
Kurt still had to go through all of this.
That's right.
It's just, oh my God, could Kurt move on?
Right. Exactly.
Shocking.
Probably not, because the Marvel character.
No, he's a Marvel character. He's not allowed to. They'll find something else. They'll give him some other trauma. It's fine. Like, you know, it doesn't, literally, it undid nothing that he went through. He's gone through everything. This is a retcon that allowed him to still go through every single thing he's done.
That's right.
It's just now he knows something else.
Yeah.
It's not really a retcon. I mean, it is a retcon.
No, it's a big retcon.
Like he just learned something else.
But yeah, now it's I think it's a great retcon in as much as it makes sense. It has roots in history, and it you know, and it doesn't really change or complicate anything.
So it's funny because it's like, you know, you read older books now, and then you think to yourself like, oh, it's funny because now this is different now.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. Like, people who read JMS's Spider-Man,
right,
or Spider-Man before that, right?
Yeah,
you're not reading the Mary Jane relationship thinking to yourself,
oh,
well, this is useless now because the two of them aren't together anymore.
Right, or they were never actually married, so whenever they say wife or husband, I cringe.
Right, like, no, you just read those books and you just enjoy them, right? Like, if you're reading anything with Nightcrawler where he's dealing with Azazel as his father, right? Well, Kurt believes that.
Right.
It didn't change.
No, he always believed that.
Just because you know it, it actually makes it more juicy.
Right.
Because you're like, oh, I know he's not his dad.
Exactly. See, those of you who need to know, now you know more.
You know more than
and
the
you would, but
themselves.
you like those of you who are complaining didn't even read the book, so you don't know because you didn't actually read it. And I know that because like I've seen these one sentence hot takes.
Right.
And it's like, you didn't read the book.
Right.
Like, you're not, you don't even know what you're talking about. You didn't even read, you didn't even listen to the rant on YouTube about it.
Right.
Like, you saw a tweet.
Yeah.
That takes a picture out of context and you extrapolate yourself.
And listen, I like the birthing thing. I you know, I know people just don't know that. You do have the entire internet at your fingertips.
Right, exactly. You could always just Google it.
Yeah.
And be like, oh my God, I can't believe how woke it is. She's on her hands and knees. And no, that's actually a thing. Okay, never mind. I'll just delete my tweet.
Yeah, like it's yes, it's not something you see again a lot in Western cultures, or at least in the US, but it's a thing.
Yeah, it is a thing. It is a thing. It's not like it's a made up thing.
Nope.
The infamous Mike Manhattan says, "Did you hear Ivan Rice is going
You
to?"
did that
I
one.
did that one.
But yeah,
Faded
sound
Weeb says, "Thank you for the great content this year. I've loved all of it." Well, thank you very much, man. I was able to get San Diego Comic-Con tickets for the first time. Excited for next summer. That's great. I have to
Nice.
actually have to register us, so we'll see if we can. We might not see you. We'll see. Tubas the one. Even Chuck Austin thinks his Azazel plot was dumb. Exactly, right? And Chuck Austin. Come on. Mordecai. Thank you very much for your generosity. Says, kind of glad we retconned Azazel because the only thing he provided was, quote, "I guess he's a deadbeat dad." Literally, I forget he's on Dark X-Men. But remember Albert, the Robo Wolverine clone.
Right?
How could you forget?
Right.
I mean,
And the other thing is that like Nightcrawler's not even special necessarily. Maybe he looks most like him, but like Azazel has so many kids he's a deadbeat dad for. It's
yeah. And also Nightcrawler is one of them.
Yeah.
Okay. Girk Pectus, after Batman 89, you think Ham should adapt original Dark Knight sequel idea, Two-Face rampaging while Heath Ledger finds a way to murder while on trial? No, I don't. I don't like Ham's writing. Get someone else to do it, for God's sake. Get the other Nolan brother to do it.
He has a hilarious name.
He does have a hilarious name. Good for him. Zoinks says, "Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Thanks for the recommend on Birds of Prey. Dope book. Have you guys read Lemire's Descender series?" Yeah, you definitely have. And I'm glad you read Birds of Prey. Enjoy it. If you haven't already, check out Birds of Prey.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, you loved Descender. Jackson Boyd, thanks for your generosity.
The
Yeah, the art's great. That's Dustin Nguyen.
Yes, it is.
ComicPop has made me appreciative of pencilers, inkers, colorists, and letterers. Yay, I'm glad to hear it. The X style, the Laraz, Sylvia, Gracia, Medina, Wernicks, etc., is my current favorite. Thanks, Tiffany, for putting me onto it.
Excellent taste.
Yeah, they're great.
Excellent taste.
Yeah. Pop Culture Guy 3000. I love that the Legendary Studios movies being tributes to the Showa era kaiju fight movies frees Toho Studios to make more experimental G films, even when they misfire, like Monster Planet and the Technobabble and some pacing of Singular Point. They're interesting ideas, and I'm glad they tried. I'm just glad that they're able to try new things. It's stuff that I don't really care about, but like it doesn't affect me at all. So like, go ahead, go over there and enjoy it and have a great time. I'm glad that's working out for them. So that's fantastic. Great point. Supreme Omega, hello. Has there been any change that didn't anger fans? Because it seems like every change seems to piss someone off, even the good, well-written ones. It's true. It's true. Sometimes, and I think, I'm guilty of it myself. I always have a visceral reaction to change and to continuity and retcons. And I think that the more clever and weaved in continuity, respectful and tolerable and palatable they are, the easier it is. But I think it's because part of us like innately fears change, and because we have a visceral reaction to like when you upset, why are you doing this? I have a very like cynical reaction, or maybe a critical reaction, to making some kind of arbitrary change because I've been burned by arbitrary change.
Right. Listen, like there have been changes in comics that I haven't liked either, but
right, but like I just if I'm that motivated by it,
right,
I just stop reading the book.
Right. Well, someone brought up a change that I was like, oh yeah, I wasn't a fan of that change, but you know what? I've gotten completely over it. Like,
right.
And it didn't take long. Like when they changed up Moira, I was like,
oh yeah, when they made her into a robot, it was like that sucks.
When they changed Moira
into a mutant,
you know what I mean? Like
that was a big change.
I like that though, but like a lot of people didn't, and it's like, but we all kind of got over it.
Yeah. Well, it didn't hurt that like it was also sucky and people forgot about it. Jonathan Stewart, hi Sal and Tiff, love y'all's content. Confused by the depiction of Nightcrawler's birth, we saw that already. Cosmo, love the show. I'm a new reader and want to dive deep on some older stories. Any DC recommendations? Only really read Wade's World's Finest thus far. Appreciate you, Cosmo. Welcome to the family. Man, you're in good company reading World's Finest. It's a great series. Great DC Rex. I mean, if you're looking for like older books, you should definitely, if you haven't already read Kingdom Come, you should read Kingdom Come. I wouldn't read the sequels, but just stick with that one. Then you can just pick up the those tomes. Those Elseworlds books are pretty fantastic. But Kingdom Come's a good one. There's a ton of DC books. It's really a question of like what your favorite characters are. So if you're like looking at like Batman, for example, just extrapolating from those, from the World's Finest run, you want to start with like, okay, like World's Finest is also an attempt by Wade to introduce you to characters he didn't get a chance to write for that don't get a lot of spotlight. So like Doom Patrol show up in that one. So if you want a easy to jump into period for Doom Patrol, the Gerard Way and Nick Darrington run on Doom Patrol is a great book to read.
Well, it's so like it calls back to previous Doom Patrol runs, but also really just does its own thing. Like it'll make you want to go back and check out some of those other books, but it's just so off the wall and well done that you're just going to be like in this world.
Right. And it's a little less intimidating than the Grant Morrison omnibus. But once you're like familiar, maybe you have a couple of favorite members of Doom Patrol, then you can go back and read the Grant Morrison omnibus.
Yes,
and by omnibus,
so
I mean just
huge.
but like you could just start reading some of Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol and
Yeah.
just try that out. But the Metal Men, I don't have any recommendations for you, but they're also prominently featured in World's Finest. But if you're looking for like just Batman runs that are like older, I mean, you can easily jump into a big ass, well collected series called or arc called No Man's Land. No Man's Land will also give you a great opportunity to introduce, because like if you know Batman at all, you're like, okay, I get it. Gotham, the villains, Gordon, Batman. That's a great, crazy, big apple cart upsetting series. Batman's never the same as a comic book after No Man's Land. So read all of No Man's Land, and that'll also give you a chance to be introduced to newer members of the Bat family. Like you'll know, oh, I know who, I know Robin, and I know this Robin. Like, oh, so Dick became Nightwing, and Tim is Robin right now, and like this is Cassandra and who she is, and that's the Huntress, and that's like, and these are all the villains and what they do. That's if you want to go into like a deep end, you know, because I don't think Nightfall is a good starting point for Batman. And for Superman, you can read any number of graphic novels like Up in the Sky, Blue, or sorry, I think it's Spider-Man Blue. For All Seasons, Birthright is what you definitely want to check out if you like Mark Waid.
You know what it is, because Blue and For All Seasons for me have like similar
They
cover
sound like-
schemes.
yes,
or
they
something.
do.
There's something there, and I'm like,
Yeah. So there you go. Lee Allen says, I'm a little out of the loop. Did you guys like Fall of X, or was it middling? We didn't like the lead up to Fall of X, but I think the Fall of X, because it's essentially shepherded by the Brits.
well, okay, so the Fall of X right now, like when like some of it, the lead up to it, I enjoyed quite a bit. The Fall of X right now, I am enjoying certain books, but like the overall like
the banner,
like the main
the initiative
storyline, like I'm not like I haven't quite seen where we're going. I haven't seen the forest through the trees just
That's
yet.
fair.
So like I can't say for sure. But for right now, there are some books from Fall of X that I'm like, ooh, I'm really into those.
Yeah. Girk Pectus, I was so desperate for Batman 89 Echoes to bring Alicia back from the dead just to have a connection to the Joker. We don't need it. Yeah, I know. It's weird. Justin Hope, hi. Well, hello, Justin. Welcome to the show. Thanks for your generosity. I wanted to ask you guys if you guys knew there was a Starship Troopers comic. It was published by Marcosia Comics, and it was great. Although they own the rights, they have done nothing with them in years. No, I didn't read it. I'm not exactly a Heinlein fan. But I did enjoy the movie as a Paul Verhoeven, RoboCop-esque movie. Girk Pectus, if you like Phil Kennedy Johnson, read his James Bond. I also am looking forward to, there's a new James Bond book coming out from Garth Ennis, and I'm like, oh
really?
I'll read the hell out of that.
No.
Supreme Omega, on Mystique and Destiny being Kurt's bio parents, if Claremont was allowed to do his plan in the 80s, what would have been the fan reception? I promise you this. Here's the thing about that. The fan reception may have been similar in terms of like there being a split. People liking it, people not liking it. The reaction wouldn't have been as visceral. The con behavior with creators wouldn't have been as embarrassing. And no one would have made any money off of it. So technically it would have been a lot better. Also, the X offices would have just known the information because of the letter writing that would have occurred.
Right.
And based on how many letters they got and how much fan reaction they got from cons, they'd probably be able to get a glimpse into the fan reaction and how much of the audience liked it and how much they didn't like it and how and why they should like double down or not. So that would have been a more like closed end-to-end system for them.
Right.
But I think it would have been more accepted. People meta read less back then. People didn't read them and go like, "Oh, I hate that Spurrier is doing this." People did know the names. They did know Claremont was in charge, but like you'd be surprised, especially back in the day. I didn't read I didn't read X-Men in the 80s. I wasn't reading much in the 80s at all, but because I couldn't read. But like the people took what they were reading at face value. Like this is just what they hated what happened to the characters. They didn't get mad that the creators did something that they in their head wanted to see happen. Or even if they did, they didn't know that's why they were mad. And so it's how you get people to like read or not read. People who can't handle or can't accept the changes or decisions made by creators,
Mm-hmm.
the ones who really like go like, you've ruined the book.
Mm-hmm.
They stop reading the book.
Yeah,
You know,
they just moved
they
on
just
to
moved
something
on,
else.
and either and some of them quit comics,
Yeah.
but like for the most part, they just moved on to another book.
Yeah,
you know, and they
for
didn't
sure.
know that, like, you know, creators who they were, or even if they did know who they were, they didn't think about it in those terms.
No, now it feels like fans have this perception that they think that the creators are personally attacking them, and they're not.
Right.
They're just like
they're just trying to make money and be employed.
They're just trying to do their jobs. It would be like going to the Starbucks and they didn't put the right syrup in there.
Yeah.
On the internet and got really mad about it, which people do.
But
with like that person's not personally attacking you.
No, it's just it's just their preference.
It's just they did that. Oops. Like, I don't know. They're just doing their jobs. You know, they're just creating. They're just doing their things. And we have seen some choices made at both, like in both, you know, DC and Marvel by creators and editorial in order to like, I'm going to put my stamp on this. This does not feel like that at all.
This
doesn't feel like someone going like, Cy Spurrier's like, I'm going to put my spin.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen creators do that.
Like it doesn't have that feel. It literally just feels like
this is something that like
this is a thing I knew about that they wanted to do, and I
have a story out of it. Like I have something.
I have a story. I've been working on. Like, Cy Spurrier's been working with Kurt for longer than you can think, because most times people don't realize how long runs have been going on for, right? Yeah. Like, think about how long he's been working with Kurt in just Krakoa.
Yeah.
And just with Krakoa. He likes Kurt, right? So he I don't know, like he's clearly been working towards this, and it just made sense to do right now. Like, I just don't feel like, you know, Cy was going out there being like, hey, you. I'm going to stick it to you.
No.
I might as well just go and punch you in the face with this one. I you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't feel like that at all. Like, he's just doing it to do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just what comes next, because that's how stories are told.
Exactly.
This is what comes next. And hopefully your creators are doing it from a narrative perspective.
Right.
Right. And I feel like Spurrier is. So
yeah.
It's just me.
Matthew Terlaga, thanks for your generosity, says the latest Wolverine vs. Predator book has been causing a bit of a stir because there wasn't an alien skull in the trophy room, but there was a confirmed Rancor skull. Now, it's interesting. I didn't know that it was confirmed, and I'll, you know, the jury's out on that. But I will say that, you know, the alien skull originally was put into Predator 2 as a little bit of a joke, as a little bit of a wink and a nod to the Alien vs. Predator comic book. That was not like a declaration or a gauntlet throw where they're like, we are doing a movie, because clearly they didn't, because the movie came out like, what, 1990? And
right.
The next one came out like 12 years later or whatever. But I think I wouldn't expect a Predator versus Star Wars before an Aliens versus Predator comic book from Marvel. Rodney Coverdale, ComicPop rocks. P.S. Wolverine versus Predator thoughts. I like it. I wish it were cooler. It's cool enough, you know. It's better than the Predator book. Denial. So Kurt happened to stop a demon. Was this a jab at One More Day and May leading the charge against Mephisto? That'd be amazing. I think we're just seeing parallels. Yeah. James, thanks for your support. Thanks for your reviews on Hellions. I just got the hardcover and I'm halfway through it, and I love everyone but Empath. Lol. Thanks for all the effort you both put in every day. Yeah, that's fair.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. King Tiakim says, hi, Sal. Hi, Tiffany. Hi. Long-time viewer, first-time super chatter. Well, thank you very much, King Tiakim. Thanks for your generosity. So this means Sabretooth, Forge, and Wolverine banged Kurt's dad? Come up, woo. Yeah, that's right. That's great. That means that if Kurt and Wolverine ever get into a fight, he can be like, hey, I banged your dad. Tubez the one. A lot of folks mad about subtext being made text. Yeah, I know. It's always the case.
Yeah.
Dante Cook, thanks for your support and generosity. Hi, Sal and Tiffany. I literally just got done reading X-Men Blue during the beginning of the show. I have not been reading much X-Men and appreciate Spurrier holding my hand in this book. I loved it.
Yeah, right. Thank you so much for your support, though. But yeah, I thought you did a really good job of making it not feel too like, okay, like previously on X-Men, he's doing it, but he's doing it in a fun narrative way that actually ties into what he's doing at Uncanny with that character. So good stuff.
Let's see.
Like he's a writer.
I know, it's weird. Alex Sanchez, thanks for your generosity. There's this one comic book YouTuber I will not name. Good.
Appreciate
unless you think they're great. But who used that birth picture out of context and it was just in bad taste as his thumbnail. I'm glad you two aren't like that dude who essentially monetizes hate. You guys rock. I mean, I'm not going to throw any specifics or because I don't know. I don't really pay attention to like who is in the space anymore.
Yeah.
But I do know that if you put it in the thing, you're trying to get people
You're
to
getting
put,
you're looking to just.
I mean, we put
like,
the title of this episode is like big retcons, but like, you know, I bet we could double our audience if I had put an out of context image
that wouldn't have been
in the
people.
thumbnail with with an inflammatory title.
Well, here's what's funny about that is that like that thumbnail, that image just means the person behind that image or the people who are clicking on that image to look at it just didn't want to go and look it up.
Right, which is really a shame. Like, you know what would have been better is
Just
if
look it up.
like especially
Like,
if you purport to love
can
comics.
you have a baby like this? Yes. Okay, cool.
Oh, well, there you go. I mean, you could also just buy the book, like like an adult. Six says, can't stay since I'm at work and people might start catching on. Yeah, keep it on the DL. But you guys rock. So I have some coin. Been loving Green Arrow by Williams, and I'm glad you dug it.
That's awesome.
Thanks, man.
Very nice.
Jonathan Stewart, didn't Cartman's mom end up being his dad in about 25 years ago? But then they did an episode in which it turns out that she was just lying. So no. Rami Darwish is actually a big surprise. Just say, watch the Chili Con Cartman episode and you'll know the answer. Rami Darwish, happy Monday, guys. Loved X-Men Blue, but can't wait for Ben's reaction. Yeah, that'll be a long time before we get that on the show. Not because it's inflammatory. It's just like, we got to do it. And he wouldn't care.
No, he'd be like,
cool. Yeah, Ben would not be like, what?
No, Ethan would be like, okay, how do we work the genetics on
Right,
this?
he'd be like, okay, what has to change?
Yeah.
The infamous Mike Manhattan. Have you guys read any Rick Remender's Image comics? No. But yeah, let's jump into some super.
No, I don't think so.
Let's recommend some comics that are coming out this week that we think you should check out. I have to see what's happening in Batman 140 after the last page reveal of the last issue. I'm interested. I'm not like sold, but I'm interested. If you've ever been interested in Shazam, you need to be reading Mark Waid and Dan Mora's Shazam. So the sixth issue drops tomorrow or today if you're watching it now. And we're seeing there's going to be at least a couple more issues of Shazam for now, but it looks great. It's the best looking Dan Mora book. That's including the Batman Superman World's Finest series right now. Right now. That's on the shelves.
Right.
And they're trying. You know, this is the most genuine effort to make Shazam a property that you should read ever. So check that out. Transformers 3 from Daniel Warren Johnson. Birds of Prey number 4 is coming out. Again, I'm surprised this book comes out so consistently. It's just a good series. I'm excited for that. So check that out as well. Yeah, I think that's it for me. There are some other books that I think you should check out as well, like Superman 78 and so forth, but I'm not caught up on them. So I don't want to necessarily just recommend them offhand because I haven't really caught up on those. I want to talk about this book really quick because I think it's really funny. And it was pointed out to me, but it's from Image Comics. It's a book called Bloodrick. And this book, Bloodrick, that's coming out from Image Comics on Wednesday. It has a curious logo, but they don't believe you can read it. So they put a parenthetical of the actual name of the book underneath it. I theorized that because Image books are more or less self-published, that the parenthetical was a directive from Image, but the refusal to change the work. Like, if you think that's the logo it should be, then go for it. But you have to put this parentheses to explain what the book is for retailers. Or do they just love the idea you can't read it and also want you to be able to read it? What is the process?
I assume what happened was they really wanted to go with this logo, but then after, because I do think that there was probably a conversation that happened
where they're like, I can't read that.
They're like, I don't know. Listen, if you want to put that on there, we need to have it somewhere else. I have a feeling that's probably what happened. And so that's what they went with because it's in the same color. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of blending, but it's there. You can, yeah.
Because I thought it said Bookwork. when I first saw it, but
I am getting bloodrick from it.
But are you getting it because you knew it already?
I can't tell because the end of it is good, but it's that LO at the beginning. I don't know if I would have gotten it, but I think just based on the way the font is put together, my brain would have been like, oh, that's the word blood because it's drippy.
Yeah.
Like I would use the context clues of the way in which the font is designed.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably.
As I understand it, apparently this is a death metal thing where you have a like almost incomprehensible logo and then you put like a little thing that explains it.
Totally
that could be. This is, by the way, Bloodrick is created by Andrew Cranky. I just wanted to say, since we're giving it this much time.
Yeah, why not?
But I thought it was interesting because it is death metal, but at the same time, like not everybody knows that.
Right.
So
right.
For me, I'm just looking at a book being like, here's a logo I can't really read. And then there's a parenthetical beneath it just being like, oh, that's what the book is called. It's like, your logo should say that.
Well,
if your logo doesn't read, then it's a bad logo and you need to do something else.
That is true. That is actually true. But if it is if it's an established
brand, but it's brand new.
No, it's an established thing within like the
but if you're trying different. If you're going for a death metal feel, look, whatever, then there you go. Also, more Kill Your Darlings is coming out from our pals over at the Supple Boys podcast. So check that out as well. Oh, I see Sentry's getting another book. We'll see how that goes.
I opened that up. I was like, who's doing it? Who's doing this?
Who is doing the Sentry?
Jason Liu and
Luigi Zagaria.
All right.
I've never heard of you.
Looks like the whole Sentry crew.
Oh, Sentry family, finally.
For me, Hunger in the Dust #4 is coming out. G. Will Wilson, Christian Wildgoose, freaking great looking book. She's just a delight.
Yep. If you want to see more, Tiffany actually got a chance to walk the floor and chat with G. Willow Wilson on camera on this channel. It's in the algorithm. Go check it out on this main channel.
Nice. Yes, absolutely. X-Men #29 is coming out this week. Jerry Duggan, Josh Cassara. Heck yeah. Doom!
Yay, Doom versus X-Men. Who doesn't love it when Doom fights the X-Men?
Doom's X-Men. That's right. Doom is his own Ladvarian mutant.
Yes, that's right.
Don't forget. He does.
Yep.
Also, Batman Santa Claus Silent Night #1 is coming out this week.
Yay.
I have to read that. Jeff Parker, Michael Bandini. Like, come on.
Yeah.
The cover's incredible.
Well, it's Dan Moore.
It is Dan Moore. I just love it, though. Look
I
at
know.
that. It's so
and
great.
I think there's like more than 4 issues at least of this series, by the way. So, check out Silent Night.
I was like, is this how this works? Did I do it?
You did it.
Look, I'm doing it.
Yeah. By the way, special shout out to League of Comic Geeks for having a website that allows us to do this every once in a while. So we use it every week, and we have no association or affiliation or sponsorship with them. I'm just mentioning
nice
that that's the website I use.
Very nice to say. I'm sure there's other things I'm missing that are coming out this week, but
but nothing you're reading regularly.
You're not
you
never
missing
know.
anything.
I'll randomly pick something up.
You're right. Like you read Alpha Flight, you were like, all right.
Oh, Alpha Flight! I should catch back.
Yeah, there's only 5 issues that comes out.
Oh, hey, you can check out some Waller Rising.
Oh no, I'm okay.
Beast World.
But I do see there's a new Thunderbolts book coming out, and that's from Jackson Lansing. Oh, okay.
And Colin Kelly. They're
Wow.
duo.
All right, cool. It's true.
There's a couple of super chats, I think.
There certainly are. Adam Melbani, Melanabi, says, listening to you guys totally helped me through some hard times recently. So thank you so much. Well, thank you for letting us be there for you, man.
Absolutely.
Thanks for your generosity here. Much love from Edinburgh, Scotland. Edinburgh. Never had a chance to catch live. Well, welcome to the show. So glad you were here.
Yeah, I want to go to Scotland sometime.
I know you do.
I really do. I hear it's gorgeous.
I've heard that too. I've heard it's cold as well.
Whatever.
Matt Fisher, first time commenter, long time listener. What is the channel's fascination with killing Captain Clown? I don't know. Well, I mean, there's a great line from a Batman animated series. You killed Captain Clown. That's just a great line.
You didn't do it right.
You killed Captain Clown. It's so funny because it's, they made him up for the episode. He's not even alive. Joker doesn't care about much, but suddenly he really cares about this stupid robot. That's why the humor's there. It's so fun.
I think that's what it is.
But yeah.
What's the best book of the week?
What is the book of the week? I would have left and not done it.
I know.
What is the book of the week?
Whoever said that in the chat, shout out to you. MVP.
Right?
MVP.
Yeah. Tons of books came out. We didn't get a chance to talk about all of them, but what is the book of the week?
Yeah.
Tiffany, what is your nomination for book of the week?
I
mean, we spent 25 minutes talking about it at least, but I feel like this book of the week has to be Predator Wolverine.
I mean, for you, it might be.
No, I'm kidding.
For sure. No, I'm kind of torn. I really liked Flash this week, but I got to tell you, just from the discourse that it stirred up,
Yeah.
I think it has to be X-Men
Blue Origins.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
does.
fair. I think it's fair to say that X-Men Blue Origins #1 was the biggest book of the episode, but I think it also, because of its the discussion, and I do mean that, and I don't put freaking quotations around it, an actual discussion that might have actually helped you with it, that's worthy of nomination. Close runner-up, I think, is Green Arrow #6. I think it was a really fun issue, and it really it caps off the series, but it also continues, so don't cancel those pre-orders.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you like Green Arrow, that's the book.
Yeah, my runner-up there, I would not make it the Flash thing, because I feel like that's too many Spurrier books. I think I'd have to, I was almost going to go Moon Knight, but I got to tell you, like, I just so enjoyed that Luke Cage book.
Yeah.
And it just came out of nowhere that I was like, so yeah, give a shout out to that too.
Yeah. And Beast World needs some kind of special.
Did you read Penguin?
No, I knew I was gonna catch up, but I was like, nope, I'm too far back.
Okay.
So
it's only like issue 4.
Yeah, I know, but 2 more issues, they'll sell me a hardcover for $30. So there's that.
Yeah. Before we leave today, everybody, don't forget, when you're out there and you're getting information about whatever it is you're getting information about, it's okay to hear other people out, but make your own decisions about the information that you're getting. Even the stuff that we say, it's okay to take what we say and mill it over, and then just to keep what you want, throw out the rest of it. And if you see something that you're like, that doesn't seem correct, you go look it up.
Yeah, you have a gut for a reason. Listen to it once in a while. And of course, let us know in the comments down below if you were catching the show after the fact. What is your book of the week? Let us know, and we'll keep it going for the next week.
Hopefully we'll remember to do this next time.
Yeah, I hope if you're watching the show for a regular watcher, make sure to keep us honest in the comments. Well, thank you to our superchargers for sponsoring today's show. Check us out on twitch.tv/ComicPop or youtube.com/@ComicPop Plays to see streams from Tiffany on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And we'll see you guys next week with an all-new episode. I am Sal.
And I'm Tiffany.
So long, everybody. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Bye, everybody.
Bye.